This show is sponsored by Sevi, answering all your commercial real estate needs. Sevi is the first commercial real estate company committed to the 4 C's: commercial real estate, community, content, and culture. Go visit Sevi at Sevi, SEVI, properties.com. Again, SeviProperties.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you. We have Michael Coates. Michael is the owner of Restoration One of Washington, D.C. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Of course, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you. Before we get into your personal and business story, if you can give the audience, Mike, just a general overview, if they haven't heard of Restoration One, what are they? What do they do?
Sure, thank you. Restoration One of Washington, D.C. is a locally owned and operated franchise mitigation company. We provide 24/7 emergency response service to water, fire, sewage emergencies. We also provide emergency board up, roof tarping services, graffiti and vandalism removal, and trauma and biohazard cleanup.
Wow, so you're 24/7.
Correct.
Oh, you must be busy, especially living, doing business in and around the city.
We're very busy, and we're very appreciative of all of our customers, and it's just been a great ride so far.
That's great. Are you originally from this area, by the way, the DC metro area?
Yes, I am. I'm a native Washingtonian, born and raised.
Oh, awesome. What part of DC?
Northeast Washington, D.C. I grew up around the McKinley Tech area.
Okay. I grew up in DC too. I did elementary, junior high school, and then I moved out of high school to Maryland. I lived in the Northwest area, what's known now as Columbia Heights, but this was pre-metro and all that other stuff. Looks very different the way it looks today, but hey, it's an improvement compared to how the old neighborhood used to be.
I remember very much so, and we have similar journeys. I also attended my high school years in Prince George's County, Maryland.
Oh, awesome. Where'd you graduate from?
Fairmont Heights High School.
Okay. I'm from High Point.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, Beltsville.
Yep.
Fairmont, where is that located? That rings a bell, but I can't remember.
Yeah, they have a newer campus. I believe the newer campus is maybe located closer to Landover, but when I attended, it was located in Capitol Heights, very close to the district border.
Okay, yeah, Capitol Heights. I had warehouses there around Ritchie Road in Capitol Heights that I leased up a couple years back. That area too, Capitol Heights, it's been growing. And with the dealership there, I don't know if you ride around there often. But great transition to compare to how it was 5-10 years ago.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So you grew up DC, elementary, junior high school, and then you said you moved to PG County for high school. How was growing up in the city? Like, what were you into? Any activities or sports that you liked?
Yes, growing up, back in Washington, D.C. back then was a very interesting time. It was a fun time to grow up. Met a lot of wonderful people and interacted with people of various walks in life. I was involved in many activities growing up. I was involved in the Young Marines program, which, just sort of kept me with activities periodically, experimenting with camping, doing physical fitness related activities that were similar, not to the full scale of what the United States Marine Corps goes through, but it was quite the workout, and kept a lot of discipline. For me as a young man, I also participated in the Metropolitan Police Boys and Girls Club activities. So periodically, football, summer camps, just always having something to do and with my time. And more importantly, developing critical skills as a young man that have actually been, essential to my journey at this point in life. I also participated in the ROTC program in junior high and high school. And I also remember just participating in another summer enrichment program. I believe it was called the Sasha Bruce Youth Works and they had all sorts of activities for us to participate in. Participated in recreational sports, just for fun. I was never like any superstar athlete or anything, but it just gave me something to do and keep my time occupied.
That's great. Did anyone in your family serve, by the way?
Yes, I did have various family members serve in the United States military, from what I understand, Navy, Air Force, Army.
Okay. No, that's great because it sounds very structured as far as your youth and then being very busy involved with extracurricular activities.
Yes, the Young Marines program was tough back then, and at times I didn't wonder. I wondered why I'm going through something like this, and why am I getting yelled at? Why am I having to do a lot of push-ups? But I understand, and even back then, Washington D.C. at times was tough. There were opportunities to engage in some activities that probably were you shouldn't be involved in, and it gave me the discipline to just kind of stay on path and just try to do the best that I can to make the right choices.
No, that's great. I wish I had that. My household was a little bit different. I'm an immigrant. I come from immigrant family, so a lot of my parents was just working, both of them, and I did have some extracurricular activities in the city, mostly the DC started soccer league with some friends, which was helpful. But if I had just a lot of more things going on like you, my grades would have been a lot better for once, and I probably wouldn't have not been heading the wrong route. That was one of the reasons too, besides my dad coming home very late at night from his second full-time job and not finding much parking in the city and then being ticketed all the time. Um,
Mhm.
I wasn't heading in the right direction per se growing up in the city. And a lot of my friends also, unfortunately, didn't, whether drop out or incarcerated or whatever it may be. And I think for me personally, Mike, that move out of the city to Maryland helped tremendously just because that group of people, I wasn't sure, like they say, your environment, I was no longer in that environment. And then for the first time, when I moved to Maryland and went to high school, I hit the honor roll. I was like, what? Wow, look at that. I'm
Okay.
actually not that bad of a student if I put some effort into it. And then
Yeah.
started getting good grades. And that was for the first time I started thinking about college because I guess my mind, at least me personally in the city, was just living it one day at a time. I wasn't thinking about a year or 5 years down the road. So I'm glad you were exposed to all these different activities. That's great. It's
Yeah.
helpful.
No, it was definitely critical to my development later in life. I really appreciate every experience uh, I encountered as a youth. So everything worked out for a reason and a purpose.
So you graduated high school from Prince George's County. After that, did you have any idea as far as what you wanted to do or what route you were thinking of taking?
Yeah, good question. I flirted with the idea of joining the Marine Corps, then had last minute I had a last minute change of heart. Flirted with the idea of attending certain colleges, but after completing the application process and also the finding out exactly how much it costs to attend these various universities, reality set in, and I had to settle for local college options. And so everything happens for a reason, and I wouldn't trade the experience for anything.
Sure. So you stayed local. What'd you end up majoring in?
Business administration. So I obtained a bachelor of business administration with a concentration in organizational management.
Okay. So you've always had some interest in business.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Where do you think that came from? Was it, I don't know, maybe were you exposed to it in the family or growing up, or you just liked it?
Not at all. Actually, I want to say, early on, I started uh, my very first job, which was selling newspapers at metro stations, Washington Times newspapers at the Farragut North Metro Station, McPherson Square. I even remember Metro Center a couple times. And so back then I said, okay, this is nice. And, I encountered a few other opportunities. I worked in high school at a local bagel shop on Capitol Hill. So, I encountered that experience. But early on, I initially wanted to be the next Jim Vance. I actually wanted to go into journalism. And I thought that would be a good career opportunity. But, I don't know. I just settled for business. I actually talked to a couple of wonderful people that I knew, and they told me that the sky's the limit in business. And at the time, it didn't really sink in. I just said, okay, it's just a motivational speech. But, they told me about the benefits of starting your own business. And back then, seeds were planted in my head, but little did I know I would become an entrepreneur. And so I had no idea, but I actually took on a few jobs that prepared me for where I am today. And so we could talk a little bit more about that, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm so glad for the people that I encountered that had those conversations with me back in the day that talked about, hey, instead of running out buying clothes with your little bit of money that you earn weekly or your bi-weekly paychecks, maybe look into some stock options potentially, or back then I was told to look into savings bonds.
Okay.
And so I actually explored those opportunities, and then I started looking into, well, what is the NASDAQ? What is the S&P 500? And, just started looking into those items, and then just from there, just took off and bought a few books, started reading them, and thought, this is okay. And, I can actually do this. And this was pre-internet age, not in the days of TD Ameritrade online. You had to actually go through a broker. And so I said, okay, I can do this.
Okay, nice. So then that's what sort of got you the interest, the bug into the business side of things.
Yes. Yeah. The mentor I had talked about real estate, primarily real estate, the benefits of real estate. And I didn't quite go into real estate, but also just the benefits of entrepreneurship. And
Sure.
so that actually, again, just sat in the back of my mind to prepare me for where I am today.
So after graduating college, what field did you go into in the end?
Yeah, so I was actually involved in the live events industry for the majority of my career. I worked for a local audio-visual and IT company, and we basically were responsible for hotel and meeting center conference setups to ensure that they ran well, and the meeting participants were able to execute very course with the local media outlets that would come to cover these events from time to time. Sometimes we would interact with the White House communication teams, Secret Service, if the President of the United States were to attend or give remarks at these venues. So various venues around the DC area, from the Convention Center to the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center, to the luxury hotels downtown. It was quite the experience, and I learned a lot.
Was it during this time that you thought about maybe going off on your own and opening your own business, or how did that idea come about?
Yes, good question, and correct. Yes, it was. A lot of odd hours. I would work day and night, and everything from P&L management to employee hiring, coaching, mentoring, development, terminations, of course, if necessary. We would also have to present to fellow target audience members, our peers, fellow directors, and key stakeholders, information from time to time. And at that time, that's when I discovered that I was a very nervous public speaker. I said, wow, they make it look very easy on television. And so I think that's why I told you initially, sometimes I might have butterflies, but this is actually pretty comfortable right now. So even though I know it's going to be broadcast to a wide audience, but it prepared me in quite the ways that you can imagine. It prepared me to learn more about numbers, accounting methods, EBITDA. that word just sank into the back of my head, even in college and in the professional world, EBITDA, EBITDA, EBITDA. So I said, okay, no problem, and I always, produce good EBITDA numbers yearly. And we had some success. I learned from some challenges, of course. I wouldn't necessarily call them failures, but, sometimes we had some hiccups along the way, and they stung a little bit. And so I said, okay, jot it down, learn from it, move on, get better from it. And more importantly, as a leader in those organizations, I took on the task of making others around me better. So I, would bring in new hires, train them up, coach them, get them prepared for success. And, happy to say that we had some success there. And, so I like to say I left a good mark there. And, it sort of prepared me for where I am today.
That's great. It sounds like you had different roles there. You were able to see many different things and learn from them, of course.
Yes. And, the most beneficial part was meeting the diverse array of people that I came encounter with periodically, people from all walks and backgrounds, people on a high end income scales. And it was quite the ride. And I never thought in a million years that I would actually be in the same room as the president of the United States, but had that encounter on more than a few occasions. And it was a lot of stress involved, but we got through it. And some memorable events, and I have a lot of photos that I have in my archive among my treasures that I'm very proud of. And so it was a wonderful time. And so of course that journey sort of was upended. Well, let me back up a little bit. I transitioned out of the hotel environment. I want to say back towards the end of 2011, and transitioned to a back of the house role, which was basically like an asset manager role. And I also was responsible for vendor management, vendor relationship management, and also hiring part-time help for our area. And so I did that role, acted in that role for, I want to say, maybe the last 6+ years of my career until the pandemic. And then the pandemic came around, of course, and then, everyone was pretty much furloughed until further notice. But prior to the pandemic, I actually attended a franchise convention in Northern Virginia, or Franchise Expo. And, actually just driving one day and listening to WTOP radio, huge plug for them, basically, a commercial jingle came on and that mentioned, hey, have you ever wanted to be your own boss and didn't know how? Well, come out to the Franchise Expo at the Dulles Expo Center in Chantilly, Virginia, and learn from industry experts about how to become your own boss in a fairly quickly amount of time if you're interested. And I did that. I actually went one weekend and attended that expo. I want to say it was maybe back in 2018, and I actually tried to pursue one other opportunity before I landed in the world of restoration, and didn't exactly work out for financial reasons. Yet they required a higher net worth than what I was able to produce. And so basically I hit the reset button, connected with a franchise consultant. And so we explored various opportunities along with my educational and professional background. And here we are.
Wow. So I assume that experience going to the expo was a big game changer for you.
Yes, it was. So it planted a lot of ideas in my head. I, prior to going to that expo, I always thought of franchising as just McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, food and beverage.
Sure.
But I never, or actually, let me even include hotels, because being in a hotel environment, I always knew that a bunch of Marriotts and Hiltons are actually franchised.
Yes.
So I always viewed franchising primarily from food and beverage and hospitality, but I never envisioned franchising across such a broad scale. And so going there was so beneficial for me to learn more and explore the world of franchising. And I actually really am so glad that I did it. And I would highly recommend anyone who is giving thought or consideration to striking out on your own and you're a little nervous about it to explore the world of franchising because I, think it's the best system in the world actually to, or the fastest way to kind of take off if you're looking to strike out on your own, if that's a goal.
Sure. When you started working with that franchise consultant, was that still you still employed with a W-2, or was it around the pandemic time where many people got furloughed, including yourself?
It was during the pandemic time.
Okay.
So my unemployment was about to run out. I started getting a little nervous and, said, okay, time's running out. There was no cure at the time. So in my mind, I said, okay, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do and how long this is going to last.
Hmm.
I knew that at some point I'm probably going to have to take on a part-time job. I really didn't want to tap into my 401k to start, depleting those savings.
Hmm.
So I chipped away at what savings I had on hand just to make ends meet. So I actually started working with a wonderful consultant named Mason Copeland, based out of Canada. And he's a wonderful individual, and he still mentors me until this day. And I owe him a huge gratitude of thanks. But he assessed my educational background. He actually, talked to me about a wide range of options and put some ideas in my mind that I never thought would have even given thought of, and restoration is one of them. So
Okay.
along with various home services. And initially, I automatically had these negative thoughts of, hey, I'm not a handyman, I can't do that. And he's like, well, let's talk further.
Okay. That's nice. I'm glad he opened your eyes there. During this time, you're obviously in a point where you're like, oh shoot, money's dwindling. What does my future look like? I don't know how your home life looks. I don't know if you have a significant other or any children. But you're almost in a position, Mike, that you're like, what next? And then that's when I guess, the restoration industry was sort of brought to you and you explored it further.
Yes. So I am married, and I have a wonderful wife named Raven at home. And I have to say that none of this would be possible without her support because I talked to her about this and, explained to her that I have a plan, but it's going to require her buy-in.
Of
And
course.
she said, okay, I'll support you either way, go for it. So that made things a lot easier for me to just go out there and give it my all without having to worry about, okay, am I going to have any additional stress, due to the momentarily lack of income, should I
Hmm.
say. And, it was a year that was very tough, but we made it through, and we, just stuck to a plan. We lived within our means. Of course, couldn't really go out and have any fun during that time, and of course, it was the pandemic, so we just stayed in
Yeah,
primarily anyway.
worked out.
And yeah, exactly. So I explored all options for funding and ultimately used my own 401k. So again, it made the jump a little bit more risky, but after exploring all options and settling in the restoration world, I made the right decision. And of course, with counseling and guidance from Mason, who assured me that, hey, whatever journey you decide to take, I am confident you will be successful if you follow the plan, just, ask questions and give it your all, you will be successful. And it takes time, more importantly. Success doesn't come overnight.
Hmm. I agree. So during this time, what year was it? 2020, 21, 20?
2020.
Okay. Okay. So 2020, that's when you decide, okay, it's Restoration One, let's go.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And how was that? If I can take you back briefly for that initial year or so, the first couple of months, I'm sure you're learning a lot. A lot of things are coming at you. You're like, so how was that starting up the business?
Starting up the business, so we started, towards the tail end of the year. We getting things together, and initially early on there were a few bumps in the road as far as communication from the office and the leadership at the time. Some information that I received, it was a little different from what they told me, and I got frustrated initially and was concerned. And but huge shout out to Restoration One. They actually were in a transition themselves and brought in some wonderful people, and those people are still there till today, right now. And the organization is in a great place. But at the time, I think I was a bit anxious already because, I thought, okay, like once it sank in, like, okay, this is real, this is happening. There's no turning back at this point. And you got to go. So nothing is perfect. And I said, okay, I just gotta, just remain calm and just move forward and trust the process. And so I did that. And, it took a little bit of time because this industry is a little bit different. You can't just jump in and just kind of go full steam ahead. There's a learning curve involved. And there are certifications that you have to obtain before they even let you open the doors to your own franchise. So I had to go through that process. It was almost like I had to reinvent myself and go through a lot of training. And so initially, early on, some of the training, I found difficult because a lot of stuff, I am an in-person classroom type of guy. Like, I need to be in person. I need to see it. I need to feel it, touch it. And a lot of the course curriculum, they were basing it off of conversation and pictures. So some of the stuff just, I had a hard time, really just breaking down mentally and just trying to gather an understanding of what would be expected of me. And so, those were some additional frustrations and initially caused some concerns, for me. And I encountered some wonderful people along the way. When I journeyed to they sort of broke up their yearly conference into small regional conferences, and I went to the very first regional conference. I want to say that spring down in Atlanta, Georgia. Met a wonderful gentleman in South Florida who I came across, John Ortega, and I still consider him a huge mentor until this day. He and I immediately clicked, and he's like, you can FaceTime me anytime and let's talk about it. And actually, early on in that journey, after I opened up, he's just giving me all kinds of coaching ideas, saying, hey, you're a new business. No one knows you right now. You can't sit around waiting for the phone to ring. You got to go out there and you got to start like planting seeds in folks' heads. You got to go visit people, go in some of these shops that are reopening, introduce yourself. And, at the time, I wasn't entirely comfortable with that process because I'm not a salesperson, but I thought, okay, if I want to start seeing some revenue and seeing some business activity, I got to do something and I got to get out of my comfort zone. So I started doing that and visiting people and just, introducing myself, introducing my company, handing out literature, and typically being met with, okay, thanks for stopping by, or, the initial resistance, like, oh, what's he's here to sell and things like that. And, folks not really understanding at the time that we are a business that you actually need us. And there's competition, of course, but when emergencies happen, people are really, really glad to see us in stressful times.
Sure. I'm glad you mentioned this, Mike. The gentleman in Florida, was he another franchisee?
So he's a senior field consultant
Okay.
and with Restoration One, and he is a former franchisee with PuroClean,
Okay. Okay. So
and
he
that's
was
a competitor.
got it. Okay. So he was the one who gave you sort of the advice to just go out there and get out there. And you were going to just any businesses, or what was it? Or you were visiting specific businesses in different fields or niches, or what was the plan then?
Yeah, so initially I went out to various businesses. So I went out to small businesses along Connecticut Avenue, downtown corridor, Capitol Hill, insurance agents. We visited local universities, but we more importantly talked about our target audience. So our target audience, property management folks, insurance personnel, talking to facilities managers, of course, hotel, the first points of contacts in the hotel environments. Who's going to make those first phone calls any times of emergencies? The front desk, the night desk manager, or the head of engineering in the hotel environment. The same thing with whatever Cushman and Wakefield or CB Richard Ellis. Find out who are the key stakeholders in those organizations from a facilities management standpoint, and go from there. We also looked into local school systems. And of course, I have to be careful along this journey to make sure that I'm operating specifically within my contractual territory.
And what is your territory?
Washington, D.C., and right now a few surrounding areas in the Prince George's and Charles County suburbs.
Okay. So if someone were to call you outside of that area, it would not be your territory.
Well, there's rules. We can
Okay.
actually take work in those areas if we're called. The contractual agreement states that no owner can specifically market their business in
I
another
understand.
contracted territory.
Okay.
But we can take work, in West Virginia if someone were to call us for a very lucrative opportunity there, or any other contracted territory. But we just can't go in there and specifically promote Restoration 1 of Washington, D.C.
Sure. Speaking about marketing, you're explaining to us as far as what you went out initially to start marketing your services. And I'm sure things may be looking a little different now. I don't know, does corporate, I guess, provide some type of marketing in-house, or is just all done internally by you?
So it's all done internally by us. They link us with a marketing company. They have suggested marketing companies, but ultimately they also have options for franchisees to explore if you're looking to transition away, and have options. So with your website and SEO, your digital ads, Google ads, and things like that. As far as social media management, we strike out on our own to provide social media marketing.
Okay. So basically, you handle a lot of it in-house.
Yes. As far as local,
Yeah.
I was told don't sit around waiting for the phone to ring. Get out there and boots on the pavement. Go introduce yourself face to face in person. Leverage those Chamber of Commerce memberships, the BNI groups, BNI meetings, and just get out, more importantly, in the field. So I don't really stay in the office a lot. I get out and I'm around the city just trying to make connections and just talk to people along the way and let them know that, hey, we're a trusted partner. They can choose any restoration company, our competition that's out there, and I won't name them. But what sets us apart is my background in the hotel hospitality industry, and the importance of treating every home like it's our own and providing that 5-star level customer service. And that's what we strive for.
Yeah. In my world in commercial real estate, we do that. We call it canvassing when we go out there and canvass the market, and whether provide flyers, business cards, whatever it may be. And as I'm sure you know, Mike, that sometimes takes time, especially in
Yes.
my world. People don't need my services daily, or maybe once every 5 years, if that, they need my commercial real estate services. So finding someone out there and going door knocking or whatever it may be, or cold calling, it's not, yeah, oh, I need your service today. So I'm sure you stumbled across that going out there as well, right?
Absolutely. And I had to get it out of my mind that, okay, rejection, no one likes to feel rejection, but, right now, just like you said, just give it time.
Yeah, I would see it as just building relationship if that was something they were interested, just because maybe when they do need my services in the future, hopefully I'm the first thing they think of, right? And I'm sure once I change my perspective on it, is just they're not rejecting me personally, is maybe they just don't need me right now, and that's normal. That's actually the norm, but maybe down the road they will.
That's totally accurate. And also, there's some people who don't believe in putting all their eggs in one basket. And so sometimes there are opportunities along the way where they've had these relationships with certain organizations for quite some time, and someone else, there's a window of opportunity sometimes, and people come in, new faces come in, they're like, hey, let's give this a try and explore. I've heard wonderful things about this company, and I've received phone calls from those various organizations that I never thought that I would hear from, saying, hey, you stopped off and dropped off some of your information. So it does work. Like you said, it just actually takes a little bit of time for
Yeah.
it to manifest.
Since we're in the marketing subject here, from a marketing standpoint, now what would you say drives the most traffic for your business?
I would say right now our SEO is strong. So we actually receive leads through some lead generating companies, and also through organic Google SEO. So Google ads, but also more importantly, leveraging our relationships through the local Chamber of Commerce, and also through there's various memberships through the Apartment and Office Building Association and Property Management Association, and just getting out there and boots on the ground. We actually, more importantly, still receive organic calls from properties asking, hey, can you guys come out for this assessment? We had a 2-unit apartment fire. We need some cleanup and remediation. And so we go out there, and when I hear those calls come in, because all of our calls are recorded for quality assurance, and I monitor those calls at the end of the day, and just to see where our leads are coming from, because we use a lead tracker for budgeting purposes to know where we kind of direct our marketing dollars. And so I'll go out and visit those individuals that will call us, and just introduce myself as an owner, and let them know, hey, give them my contact information. My phone's on 24/7. Any event of an emergency, you can feel free to call me. If you decide to work with us, we certainly would welcome the opportunity, and just love to build a relationship with them, and even give back, more importantly, to any charitable endeavors that they may have.
That's great. Mike, are most of your customers on the commercial side, or do you do also residential, let's say just families and homes who've been displaced for whatever reason?
All of the above. So
Okay.
right now, I would say we're 50/50, commercial and residential.
Okay.
Initially, early on, commercial is hard because they already have a lot of established relationships on that
Hmm.
side. So it took a little bit of time, but the residential side was really starting to pick up for us. We are a vendor, an approved vendor with Travelers Insurance. So basically, if any persons insured with Travelers were to call in an emergency, they would be provided with the authorized approved vendors list that they can reach out to. And usually we're on that list of companies that they provide the policyholder with, and we'll get the calls. Home fires, unfortunately, for emergency board ups, uh, sump pump failures, water cleanup, dry out extraction, even roof tarping. Unfortunately, during the summer storms, when trees unfortunately topple over and cause significant damage, and we have relationships with a tree crane service or tree removal companies that can come in with the tree with the crane service and remove the trees from the home, and then my team will get up there and provide the roof tarping service until they can actually get the repair work underway once it's approved. The scope of work is approved by the insurance company.
Sure. What would you say drives and motivates you today?
Uh, my employees, also just the opportunity to provide good service to the community that where I'm from. I never thought in a million years that I would be a local entrepreneur that has created jobs. I have 9 employees, and from time to time, I actually have to, let me back up, 9 full-time employees. And from time to time, I have to bring on temporary workers. So sometimes that number can randomly exceed to more than 20 on occasion, depending on the scope and size of the project we're dealing with. So it's still that's what motivates me, that these employees are relying on me and this business to provide a livelihood for their families. So it just motivates me even more to continue on this path to try to create more jobs for the DC, Maryland, Virginia community, and to try to grow and be the best local restoration company in the DC area.
I love that, Mike. Speaking about employees and your team members, how do you go about actually finding the right people to bring on to your team and putting them in the right place in the right role in the job?
Yeah, that's a good question. Early on during the pandemic, trying to hire employees, it was a very difficult time. We didn't really receive hardly any applicants, so it was a slow go, and I found myself more involved in the day-to-day operations from a production standpoint until we were able to get one employee and then leverage some relationships. And along the way, we basically post to job boards, various job boards. So I use a site called careerplug.com, and they post to, I want to say, maybe over 20 different job boards to source our candidates. And we also, of course, from time to time may receive referrals. And so customers we've served along the way will ask us, hey, are you guys hiring? I have a nephew or I have a grandson who is in need of an opportunity. And we've had some successful candidates sourced from those backgrounds as well, or, those former customers that we've serviced.
That's great. And, speaking about employees and customers and everything, if someone's listening to you and maybe they're an employee and maybe they've always thought about having their own business just like you did, maybe they're not sure what industry. It might be restoration, who knows? Maybe it's franchisee route, maybe it's non-franchisee route. Any advice or suggestions you would give that person as far as what to look out for, what they should know at first before moving forward?
Absolutely. I would say do some careful research, set aside fear. Fear is our biggest enemy. It will hold you back and not allow your creative juices to flow. So I would say don't set your fears aside, but more importantly, don't just jump out there. Give it careful thought. I highly recommend franchising, because franchising, you're not in business by yourself. You're in a proven winning system that's proven to succeed if you are disciplined and do exactly what you're told. And more importantly, just again, careful research, and more importantly, maybe find yourself a good mentor, someone maybe that is an entrepreneur or has experimented with entrepreneur. Just because they may have been in business by themselves and no longer are in business, they still have a wealth of knowledge that they can pass along to you. As you can take the advice for how you want, and either way, they have these experiences that they learned along the way, and I'm sure they look back upon that journey to say, okay, I would have done this differently. Here's what did succeed for me.
Oh, that's all great advice. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
What are some habits or traits you feel you have that have helped you in the business, or maybe even just outside of the business on the personal side of things?
My willingness to be fair and open, and to train, develop, coach, mentor. People gave me an opportunity along the way and provided coaching and mentoring. So I feel I have an obligation to give back. I have brought individuals in who not necessarily did not have a restoration background, but I assess their character and, if they were willing to put in the work necessary to learn and be coached.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, then okay, not a problem. We'll help to prepare them for, this opportunity. And I explained to these folks that, hey, you're not just coming in for a job, you're coming in for an opportunity, and we're a growing company. So this will also help you to grow your career if you're interested and become a leader. And ultimately, whatever path they decide to take from there, I explained that I would be willing to talk to them and give that sound advice if necessary. So that is my passion: training, coaching, developing, mentoring. It's something that I feel that I'm pretty good at, and I want to continue to do that along the way.
Speaking of improving and growing your team, I know you said you have 9 full-time people. How does that look? Are they a certain number out on the field? Do you have anyone in-house internally helping out with any admin or office duties?
Yes, I have a back office staff. So basically, I have a project manager and an admin. The project manager is in a hybrid role between the back office and in the field. And I have a crew chief, and then the rest of the employees are field technicians.
Okay, I see. That's great.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge with your role today at Restoration One of Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I would say accounts receivables, accounts receivables, you know, collections.
Sure.
It really can take quite some time to collect, for the jobs that we complete. I mean, I've had some jobs we can go almost a year before we've actually collected the revenue that we're owed. So I had to actually find and build a relationship with the good local attorney, and to help us out in that aspect from time to time. Sometimes a lot of our jobs are insurance based jobs. So basically, the policyholders go through their insurance policies and file a claim, and sometimes those claims are held up for various reasons. And the insurance companies sometimes will bring in a third party to review the scope of work and reevaluate the payouts, and it could get tied up from there. So those are the challenges I would say that I've learned along the way, and it created some tense moments early on because you're looking at cash flow management, and cash flow is the biggest area of opportunity. So I've learned along the way the importance of business lines of credits, things like that, just to be able to survive tough times. And and I still consider myself learning every day, different tools necessary in order to navigate this journey.
That's tough. And I'm glad you mentioned the credit lines because that was going to be my next question. It might take months or, like you said, even over a year to collect. And you still have bills to pay every month, and you still have employees that want to get paid bi-weekly or whatever it is. And what about them?
Correct. Yes. And those were moments early on that I just said, like the employees, they expect a paycheck every 2 weeks. They're not going to sit around and wait for an excuse like, oh, we didn't get paid from this job. So it's up to me to provide. And so I brought them into this situation. I have an obligation to make sure that they're paid on time. And so that's when I begin to have conversations with mentors, with the franchise system, to learn about options. So there are options out there. And again, I think being in business by yourself, I mean, there's certain things you're taught along the way in college, but let's be real, unless you're in the classroom, sometimes you're able to quickly forget about some of the things that you learned along the way. And so sometimes just surrounding yourself with the with certain people, and you have these conversations. Hey, I'm running into this challenge, and then you're quickly able to get answers.
Yeah. Mentioning credit lines, sometimes especially with a new business, is not that easy to establish and get those. Whether you're 1 year into it or just a few years into it, did you have any difficulties or everything was pretty smooth?
I had a lot of difficulties. So if we back up a little bit early on, when I told you some of the challenges that I incurred out the gate with the franchise system, they told me, "Oh, we have, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but I guess the COVID pandemic, companies reevaluated their business their business landscape and what
Hmm.
they were willing and not willing to do. And I think because of the influx of people who were either furloughed or laid off during the pandemic, I think you saw an influx of people looking to start businesses around that time frame. So what might have once been an option for financing with the franchise system, or the companies that has a relationship with the franchise system, they quickly told me, no, we don't, since the pandemic, we don't lend to new franchisees. And I went, oh, wow. Okay. So automatically, we talk about cash flow automatically. So I told you I used my 401k, and
Hmm.
it automatically like just started depleting really, really fast. And it created some really anxious moments for me. I, really got concerned. And like you said, starting out is the hardest part because no one wants to lend to an unestablished business.
Hmm.
So I had to use my own money to get this company up and running. And if you're looking to obtain vehicles, which you will need uh, in our line of work, I had to sign on as a personal guarantor to everything. So here I am, a guy who's basically been jobless for a while now. But thank God I had good credit, a good personal credit history.
Hmm.
That's why I was able to obtain lines of credit necessary from local dealerships in order to get work vans. And also, I just had to pay a lot of money up front for the equipment that was needed to get started. So it really created some really tense moments. But looking back, it created some learning opportunities, and which, if anyone's going into business or anyone that I come across, were to ever ask me, I would definitely share what I think, is the preferred route you should go to getting up and running.
What would be the most preferred route to go?
So I definitely would explore conventional loan opportunities, potential SBA loan opportunities, and more importantly, give 401k your 401k a shot if that's something. It's called ROBS. You don't hear it talked about a lot, but ROBS, rollover for business startups, and there are certain companies that facilitate that process. Uh, when you go about the ROPS process like I did, you're automatically set up as a C corporation. And so, of course, a C corporation, you're taxed a little more than an LLC or an S Corp.
Hmm.
So that's just something also to consider.
And that's the route you went, you said, right?
Correct. Yes, we're a C corp at the moment. We're looking to uh, re establish ourselves this year potentially as an S corp or an LLC.
So when you opened this company, Mike, you literally went all in. Like you put everything, all the chips on the table. It's like black or red one way, that's it, no other way.
Correct, I did, and it created some really tense moments. One thing I'd like to say while I'm here is, you hear a lot about mental health talked about these days, and I will say that sometimes the journey can feel lonely, but I would encourage people to not feel that way. It's an emotional up and down roller coaster. So you're going to have very high moments, but it's going to take a while to get there. Okay, nothing happens overnight. But once you start to achieve that level of success, it's going to feel really good that you put in the hard work and the equity and the sweat to get to that point, and to see it manifest and grow. That's what gives me satisfaction. So definitely, there's moments that I've questioned myself: why did I do this? what have I gotten myself into? But I have no regrets at this point. I really enjoy it. What I've told myself is now I have the freedom to create my own day, how the scope of my own day goes. If I want to stop working today at 12:30 and go home for the rest of the afternoon, or if I want to go for a walk in the park for 2 hours in the middle of the day, I can certainly do that. Mm-hmm. So those are the trade-offs, and you just have to find that peace of mind along the way and create that happiness that you're going to need.
That's great advice. Coming to an end here soon, Mike, what do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your business career?
I know now that nothing happens overnight. It takes time. And more importantly, I would say get a mentor if you can. If you can find any, and I would say, a mentor, coach, someone who has been in business. And there are individuals out there who are entrepreneurs. Some may or may not be willing to offer advice, but if you are fortunate enough to encounter someone in business, and even if they're not a mentor per se, but maybe just asking them, like, how did you embark on this journey, and what advice would you give to someone like myself looking to go into business? So I would say just look to build some relationships and do careful research. And that's what I've learned is I kind of went at it alone, and I just kind of wish that I would have, just broadened my scope a little bit more and just invited, and again, it was during the pandemic, so we had social distance, but those are the things that I learned along the way that I would do differently is do more research with talking with established entrepreneurs and just finding out if this is the something that they would recommend or not, and more importantly, if they asking them those same questions, if they had to start all over again, what would they do differently?
Yeah, no, that's good. What does the next couple of years looks like for you in the business? What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about growing, increasing our bottom line and hiring more employees, and also looking to hopefully expand territory possibly, and maybe develop, maybe grow look into another investment opportunity outside of the R1 scale, and keep things going for myself, and maybe start another revenue stream along the way, and hiring a general manager to help with the day-to-day operations.
Sure. Are you thinking about a franchisee as far as the other possible option, or?
Yes, definitely franchising.
Okay. All right. That's great. When you're
Yes.
not busy working and running the business, what do you like to do for fun in your free time?
Self-care. So, I like to, discover, pedicures, massages, going for walks, definitely taking trips when necessary. And more importantly, working in my yard sometimes is more therapeutic for me. So working out in the yard and cooking. I like to cook whenever I'm able to. I like to fire up the big green egg that I have and put some brisket on and some chicken and just sit back and enjoy it.
I love that. That's great. Mike, if people want to learn more about you or reach out to you, get in contact, where can they go to find more information, please?
Sure, they can give our company a call at 202-335-4820, and that's Restoration One of Washington, D.C., or they can find us on the web at Restoration One, and that's numeral one.com/Washington DC.
That's great. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show. I had a great time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Pleasure was all mine. Take care.
All right. Take care.